Hi gang, thank you for joining me today. Here's some more updated news about what's going on there in Tonga and the outlying islands. Yesterday I reported how the volcanic island, Tonga, was virtually gone. But new reports that are coming in that the smaller outer islands also have been destroyed by the massive volcanic eruption and tsunami. 3 people have been confirmed dead. Still no communication other than sporadic satellite radios, and the ash is even making communication through satellite radios difficult. The undersea cable to fiber optic cables that were laying atop the coral reefs have been destroyed, and they're saying it's going to be weeks before that's going to be repaired. The New Zealand military is trying to work out the logistics of how to get water, which is number 1, to the island, food and other type of satellite equipment to communicate with the people there. One vessel, I believe, left today, but it's still going to take 3 days before the military vessel arrives in the area. Then the other problem is that that island and the other islands have been closed down, shut down since 2020 to prevent COVID from getting to the island. They've only had 1 case of COVID there. So the government of Tonga and New Zealand is worried when they do arrive with aid, are they going to bring in the COVID virus? And these people do not have natural immunity because they haven't had it there. They're going to test the people before they go and get to the island, but there's no guarantee even then because they'll still be shedding the virus. And then you worry about false positive testing. So that's going to be a second catastrophe that will probably hit the island. Satellite images from the flyover that the New Zealand government did. Now this is Mango Island, where around 50 people lived, and it was completely destroyed. There is probably only 2 houses remaining on the island of Finofio. But Mango, everything was destroyed. And there was images of a tarp. At least some people probably survived. That was at the top of the island, the highest point of the island. AI6YR has been posting satellite images on Twitter. Now this is an image of Finofio, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. This is after, and then this is what it looked before the eruption and the tsunami. Let me go back, and you can see some of the smaller buildings have been destroyed. According to this person, AI6YR, the last delivery of water they received was on January 14th. And hopefully some of that water survived the inundation of the tsunami. Or was it contaminated? They also have images of when the water was delivered. Yeah, they very easily could have been washed away. It was delivered to the school. Here's an image of the school before the tsunami taken from Google Earth. And this is what the reconnaissance plane took. You know, they could have had a lot better images than this garbage. Ada Island, which was another one that was close to the volcano, had a large amount of damage, devastating. There was what's called the Royal Sunset Island Resort there. All western coastal areas, including the Alta Island, were submerged. Got that submerged by the tsunami. No report of casualties, as most of the villagers have evacuated to the mainland, and others managed to get to higher ground within the plantation. As for the Royal Sunset Island Resort, which was much lower, it was near the coastline. It was fully submerged by the tsunami, and they do not expect much left. Fortunately, there was no guests. Well, there was no guests because the whole area has been closed since 2020 to keep the coronavirus out. No word on the staff that was living at the resort. The resort manager, her husband, a daughter were apparently still at the resort when the tsunami hit. This here is an enhanced photo that I have for that resort, and it looked like this one building right here. This is that Royal Sunset Resort. It looked like it had been moved off its foundation. It looks like extensive debris had washed out into the ocean. You can see the fingers of it there. They do know that on Mango Island, a 65-year-old woman was killed and a 49-year-old man died. On Nomoka Island, and then there was that British national who had moved there and set up a pet shelter. Yeah, her body was found on Monday. There where Mango is located, the tsunami was about 49 feet high. Yeah, almost 50 feet high. This here is one of the images before I enhanced it. I changed the lighting, the brightness, and the contrast. Like I said, the initial satellite images were just very poor. This has been enhanced, so you can see it a little bit better here. Yeah, there's a lot of damage. The government is reporting that on Mango Island, over 56 homes were destroyed or seriously damaged. You know, when the volcano erupted, there was reports that the sound was heard all the way to Alaska. There was a pressure change, air pressure change that was picked up at the Chicago O'Hare Airport. So what I would like to know is, and if anyone during that time, it shows the time here, and this would be Chicago, Illinois, if anyone noticed their ears popping, much like when you're driving and you get up to a higher elevation and you come back down. Yeah, did anyone notice their ears popping during this time? So here, using Google Earth, is Atta Island. This is where that Royal Sunset Hotel was at. This is an image. Like I said, this building here looked like it got moved off its foundation. Let me show you this again, because I believe parts of this building here was destroyed. These images are from the reconnaissance, and this is the one that I enhanced. This is that area for the building, and then up over here is the resort. Let me go back to Google Earth. There's Google Earth, and you notice we don't have all the debris, I guess you can call it, that later washed into the ocean. Alright, and then next I want to show you next where the volcano is at. There's Tonga right there. It shows you how close it is to Tonga. And right here is the volcano, which is no more. It's a caldera, which is 5 miles across. These little landforms were built up along the outside rim of the caldera. Alright, let's go to Mango, where the tsunami was almost 50 feet high. Right there. Now we got some buildings here on Google Earth. On the northern end, it looks like. And nope, I thought there was some buildings there, but there isn't. Alright. Mango is the island which everything has been destroyed, and there's one tarp up at the highest point of the island. There's before and after. This is the island that they picked up the distress signal from after the tsunami. That then the United Nations decided to check out what was going on, and New Zealand then sent the reconnaissance plane to fly over and take pictures. This whole chain of islands, these archipelago, is formed because, let me briefly cover this, of the subduction. Let me bring it over. Of the Pacific Plate. This here in red is the Tongan Trench. Everything subducts and then comes back up. Rises back up and forms these volcanic islands. Here's one image of the caldera. Like I said, it's 5 miles across. And another image showing the evolution of the volcano. We got the 2009 cone, the 2015 cone. Basically, just one little spot here is still remaining. And over there, let me make it a little bit bigger for you. But this whole thing blew. Yeah, the sound of the blast was not only heard in Alaska, it was heard in New Zealand, Australia. Scientists are saying this is a once-in-a-thousand-year event. On the island of Tonga, evidently right now what they're saying is over 50 buildings have been destroyed. It's going to be about 3 days before any shipments arrive there, along with the desalination plant or machine. That's going to be able to produce about 70,000 gallons of water that they can drink. And that's going to be the main concern, to have water. You can only go 3 days without water. Because of the ash, people have been advised not to drink any water from tanks, catchments, anything like that. Another thing that's going to affect the people living on the island is the fishing. This here is a picture of Tonga and all the ash, and you can see the discoloration in the water from the ash. And it's probably going to kill off the sea life in that area. They heavily depend on the fishing from around these islands, especially because they've been locked down since 2020. They're saying, too, it's going to cause a cooling of the earth down there in the southern hemisphere, which might be a good thing because Australia's been going through a tremendous heat wave. The airport is still closed and probably will remain closed for a while because of the ash. Can't fly anything in. So everything's going to have to come in by boat. And like I said, it's going to take 3 days for those military vessels to arrive there. In Hawaii, they are doing collections to help the people there, but things won't arrive probably for weeks. They're saying, too, that until communication has been restored, collections by private organizations will not arrive until after those communications are returned to normal. They must not have been taking gas readings prior to the eruption because there was a buildup of lightning strikes prior to the eruption, which would indicate there was, significant gases coming out. An American meteorologist studying lightning around the volcano had found that it had increased to about 30,000 strikes a day before the eruption. On the day of the eruption, he detected 400,000 lightning events in just 3 hours. I have often talked about how gas readings, live gas readings, are so important. They will show signs, increase in CO2, SO2, etc. prior to an eruption. So they must not have been doing that there at this volcano. In fact, Tonga was where the office was situated, which was monitoring the volcano, was saying things were settling down. But if they had been taking live gas readings, they would have known that was completely the opposite. There is a post on Twitter showing the lightning after its eruption. 400,000 lightning strikes. Amazing. Here is an image of the volcano from December 24th. This is it right here. Huffing and puffing, as the statement says, showing what was going on prior to the super eruption. Look at that. Here is an image of an eruption from December 19th. It said the volcanic cloud was almost 9 miles high. This image here is from January 17th, showing the sulfur dioxide, which can cause acid rain. More images from Mamuka village. This is before. Let me bring it down. And after. Now this building right here would be this one with the red roof. And you can see the destruction. Yeah, all these buildings, they're gone. Look at that. They're gone. Alright, next we're going to go to Fahey village. And I'm going to show you images of its destruction. So it looks like up over here, everything is gone. It's gone. There's before and after. Yeah, it's gone. And there was a lot of smaller homes, it looks like, up in this location. And many of those are gone too. So we got Fafa Island Resort. That's gone. And the tsunami was not as large over here as it was at the islands that were closer to the eruption. Now we're going to go to Kanalupu Beach there in Tonga. And I'm going to show you images. This is Google Earth before. And what the latest images that were released yesterday. Here we got. Now this is on the dailymail.co.uk. Yeah, it's been pretty well scoured. And there it is on Google Earth. Down here, I pulled it down a little bit farther because I want to show you this bend. This is what it looks like now. Yeah, that's pretty well scoured too. We got before and after. So because of the ash, if they're going to get anything new brought in, supplies brought in, it's going to have to be airdropped. Otherwise, it's going to be 3 days, at least 3 days until the first one ship arrives. Other ships have been deployed, but yeah, it's going to be a day later. Sending prayers to everybody. What are your thoughts? Please put those comments down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.